Good evening, it's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts, and we're back on the Porsche dashboard. I got a time element here. I got to get this done because it belongs to a friend of mine, and last week we made this part. I wish I had been able to do more, but we'd like to do 2 or 3 videos a week, but we'd be just too busy. We got a class starting tomorrow. They've got a couple people from England flying in, so it should be a pretty cool class. And this is made out of aluminum, 50 thousandths, 3003. But before I start on this, we made this last week and we just kind of roughed it in. So now we got to show the refinement. Maybe we'll get it done, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what we can do in about 45 minutes or so. These are all the gauges that show the correct profiles. And this was the flexible shape pattern, and Mark made those. So we're going to use that information to transform this and refine it. But before we do that, I just wanted to show you, we had the 10-day contest, apprentice contest program, and the first winner was Jason from Marlborough, Mass. And he did his 10 days, and he's such a nice guy. Everybody liked him in the shop and everything, and he loved working on the project. And he was very, very dedicated to it. He figures if he could do that, he could do anything. So it's just a smaller scale. So I assigned him this Volkswagen go-kart, and we did a little video of it. But Jason was a total beginner, and this is what he did. He's made most of these parts except for this one here. That was made by one of the other students. And this part here has to be shaped. It has to go around. It looks pretty simple, but it actually is pretty complicated. It has to have these flanges. We're going to put a little welting in here, just like the regular Volkswagens do. The wheel openings are just preliminary. We're going to open these up, and then we're going to put a doubler on there. And this was a cool little feature, making the engine lid, and to put that little Volkswagen design motif in. That's done with a tipping wheel. And using the wire form, which guided the production of all these parts, plus we used flexible shape patterns to make sure that there was symmetry between the two sides, because the wire form was off a little bit. We used the wire form to hammer form this around. We actually removed the wire form that goes in the back, and it registers right back, so we can put it back very easily. And he hammer formed that around here, and these will all come together. They'll pinch together with a pair of pliers, and then we're going to drill them and put like 632 screws in probably every 2 inches or so. So the plan is for this whole entire body to screw together. And we added these on last night, and this was typically a separate panel, but we're making it one panel with a joint in the middle, and that'll have a couple 632 screws in it too. So this should be a pretty good strong assembly. And then we'll have this be wrapped around a wire, and we'll have the superleggera. Superleggera means super lightweight. It's small tubing. We'll probably use 1/2-inch tubing with a 40 thousandths wall thickness or so. And we'll make a couple hoops and a surround here, and we'll use that tubing to make some brackets on the bottom as a bolt-on interface to the chassis, which will be made with 1.25 OD tubing. I think that's like 60 thousandths wall. And we have a bender and stuff, and Jason actually wants to make the chassis and everything too. And we'll come up with some decent wheels, and we're going to power it with probably a cordless drill. That's the idea. And I also have a wheelchair motor that I can use also. So it's just coming along really good. Jason had absolutely no experience. So my point on this is that this can be learned just about by anybody who has patience. You have to have those 5 Ps. Remember the 5 Ps? I can't remember myself right now. I'll have to think about it. But so anyways, he's doing a really good job. And I just want to thank Jason for being so patient, and actually he's donating his time, but he's getting that knowledge in return. And I'm going to end up with a great little small go-kart, electric powered, for my grandson who turns 6 years old in a couple of weeks. So I don't think we'll get it done in a couple of weeks, but I think that'll be a hit with my grandson. So I just wanted to show you that. So the major problem with this was just getting this flange to stretch down. And I had a couple comments. People were asking, you know, how did I know that needs to be stretched? Well, with a flexible shape pattern, when you set it flat on the bench, if it's just a standard compound curve, a standard compound curve is when the curves are going this way and this way. They're going in the same direction. All the edge of the flexible shape pattern will sit on the bench. When you have a reverse curve present, and that's what this is right here, the reason why this is a reverse curve is because there's a radius this way and then there's a radius this way. So they're in opposition. And when you have an opposition radius situation, you always have this situation here where the flexible shape pattern won't sit flat, and that reveals how much stretch you have to do in order to get that to sit really nice and tight. This implies stretching here. This is inboard stretching. This is edge stretching. When we put this on now, the last video, our goal was to get this so it sat really nice, and it's sitting pretty good right now. And this line is all these dots here. That's the peak of the radius right there. We punch the holes through and we transfer it on here, and that lines us all up. I'm off a little bit right here, so that has to roll a little bit more there. We might have to stretch that a little more. Now, another comment was this has gotten really thin. So as you can see, it was 50, but now it's actually probably like 20 thousandths right there. Now that has to weld right here. Now, the longer you make this flange, the more you have to stretch it. So what I might end up doing here, because it got really thin, is I might cut it off. I might cut it off like, let me get my pen. I can cut this off like this, and then weld on a new piece, which will be 50 thou. Over here it's pretty thick. It's probably 45 or 40 thou anyways. That's fine. So I can weld that on right there. I don't have to, but I can, and I might do that. So we'll see. But right now what I want to do is get this radius right, because we don't have that radius correct yet. So we got to find the gauges. The gauges are, the story is all here. It's gauge 16, gauge 17. So everything's numbered. And we find 16 and 17. And 16 went right there. As you can see, that fits beautiful. And 17 is right there. Now we put this on, and what we have is a condition here where we have a too fast of a radius there. We got the peak at the wrong point. So what we want to do is we'll index that peak.
So Ray puts the flexible shape pattern back on the original dash, and he's looking for the peak. So he takes gauge number 16 and he places it right on the flexible shape pattern, and you can see right where those dots are, that's where the peak is. So he's going to mark the peak on the gauge 16, mark it on both sides, just so when you put it on your panel you're working on, you know which way everything goes. So he doesn't confuse the index mark with the peak. He writes radius peak right on the gauge. So the flexible shape pattern goes right on the panel we're working on, and what Ray's going to do is he's going to mark all the locations for all the gauges and the peaks along with the index marks. It's important to put your flexible shape pattern back on the panel in its home location. You can see that by where we marked out the corners where the flexible shape pattern ends. Took the flexible shape pattern off the original dash, and we just punched holes, 1/4-inch holes through them, a couple inches apart. You never punch a hole right where the intersection is, but this makes sure that you know where all the gauges go correctly. So we're just going to mark all these out. So we marked the entire panel according to the flexible shape pattern where all the gauges go and the index marks. Now we want to see how close we are with the arrangement value of the panel, so we're going to start with gauge 16, and we're going to try and line it up with the index mark and radius mark, and when we actually put it on, we see how far off the radius actually is. So we probably got to put that back about an inch or so. Then we're going to check with gauge 18 and see where that lies. To bring that radius back, Ray's going to use his leather face slapper, and he's going to come over here and use his wooden dolly that he made from a piece of hardwood from a skid. The piece of wood's been taken and ground down to have a nice radius to it. And to protect the panel, we just lay a blanket right over the piece of hardwood so that it doesn't bite into the panel. Using the gauge as a guide, we're going to see how far back we have to bring that radius. Now we're going to take the leather face slapper and we're going to hit it. We want to hit it not that way because it'll make dings in the panel. You want to make sure that you hit it this way. So Ray's going to hit it, hit the radius over very gently. You got to do a little bit, and check it. Therefore, you don't, if you get into trouble, you can always fix it. Remember, metal is clay. Take gauge 17. He's checking, see how far off he still is. And it's probably about 3/4 of an inch. We got to bring that radius back. So he's just confirming. And now some more hitting. Now we use the gauge and see how far back it's gone. And we're still probably about 3/4 of an inch to go. It didn't really move that much. So we're just going to keep going. Roll that edge over a little bit more, bring the radius back. Remember, hit, check, you don't want to overdo it. Now we're about 3/8 of an inch away, coming closer. We just want to roll that back a little bit more. Okay, checking with gauge 17 again. We got about 1/4 of an inch still to go. We're just going to hit that over a little bit more. We kind of bugged it there. We're getting a lot closer right now. We're going to check with gauge 16 as well. 17, that edge probably has to come up a little bit. We're checking with gauge 16, and as we put that on, we see that's actually in a great spot. It's almost perfect. 17 still has maybe 1/8 of an inch to go. And we're going to check 18, so we're there, and 18 is pretty good, probably about 1/4 of an inch to go. So we're just going to bring 18 back a little bit more without trying to bug it up. And I think he did. Checking back again with 18. We still need a little bit more, and the edge needs to come out. Now sometimes to do an arrangement value, all you need is just a little muscle if you don't have the tools. Well, Ray says a little muscle. I say it's a lot of muscle. Ray seems to just manipulate metal with his hands like I've never seen anybody do. And then we're going to check gauge 18 again. I was wrong. It's 16. And 16, it seemed like it moved a little bit. He did too much. Now he's just going to bring it back a little bit. And 16, almost perfect. Just needs to bring that edge out a little bit more. Now we probably need to do something over here where it transitions, where we stretched a lot of metal. So we're going to go over to this English wheel that Ray had built about 7 years ago. The frame is made out of aluminum. We were trying to go for a lightweight mobile English wheel. So this was kind of a prototype that he had created. All the adjusters and everything, they're all made out of steel. And he just realized that it was just way too heavy the way it was. So it kind of sat back on a shelf for about a few years until one of our customers, Ed, who's making this Alpha, he asked about a small English wheel that he could try and get his panel into. And Ray's like, oh, you know what? I actually have one. He got it out. We put it in this, we made a nice little stand for it. And Ed's been doing great work with it. So with this, we're just going to take out any dings we put into the panel with the slapper. We're going to smooth that out. Now, using the English wheel, we're not really adding area value. He's just arranging, so he's got light pressure on these wheels, and he's just going slow, making sure the wheels don't bite into the panel or anything. And here we are checking back. Gauge 17. It's close, but it's still a little off. Let's see how 16 is. 16. We moved that radius a little much, so Ray's just gonna muscle it in. Now you don't have to get these perfect at this point right now. We're just trying to get in the general vicinity. Go back to 18, see where 18's at. 18 still has a little bit. We're just going to hit that over a little more. Now you can see you really need to have patience with this. You don't want to go too fast because things will just get messed up. You want to hit a little bit and check. We see that 18 still has a little bit more to go. 17, it's right in the ballpark. 16, very close. But he's also got this wiggle squiggle, as he calls it, and you can just always take that out with the English wheel just by rolling the edge. But once he puts in that flange, everything will really stiffen up. So we're going to go see how it looks on the flexible shape pattern right now. So we put the flexible shape pattern on. It's reading good. And right where we stretch that edge, we may need to stretch it a little more, but we also have that radius, which is too far back. So we're going to have to hit that over a little bit more. We're just massaging that radius back. We're going to hit that flange in. Remember, that kind of curves right back in. It's not a 90-degree bend. So he hits that over a little bit more. And then we're going to confirm with the flexible shape pattern. And you can see right there, we have to stretch it a little bit more. So we're actually going to take this to the shrinker stretcher, use our stretch dies, and just stretch out a little bit. You want to be careful because with the stretch dies and how the aluminum's so thin right now, it's very easy to crack. Now we're on the stretcher. We're stretching that edge a little bit. Try not to stay in one spot. Make sure it doesn't crack. And then we double check with the flexible shape pattern, see how close we are. And we're putting this back on the dash. Now remember, this is one thickness removed. We just want to see how close it is. We definitely need to bring that edge in a lot more. And we're also going to need to stretch that edge a little bit more. So we're going to have to go back onto the shrinker stretcher. Just stretching a few spots, try not to keep them all together. Now we've stretched that edge, we're just going to bring it back so that it matches the shape of the dash. We're going to hit that back over. And again, we're confirming with the flexible shape pattern, make sure the area value is correct, and if we need to stretch any more. Now Ray's talking about how back in the day, I believe Swendler coach builders used hammer form to actually make all the parts for the Porsche. So they would just clamp on a piece of metal and then just hit it right over the form. Now, why we're trying to get this done instead of finish the Healy or anything is because we have just a limited time frame. Our buddy Adam has kindly lent this to us till the 18th of March, so that's why we were trying to obviously do this. Now, what we want to do with the dash is once we have one completely made, you'll remember a while back Ray had made a hammer form. I can't remember what it was for, but we used 1/4-inch wire. He may use 3/8-inch wire. Bend that to the shape, and then just put a bunch of Bondo in there to really make a hard buck, and then we can just make as many dashes as we want. All I ask is that you guys be really kind to my voiceover. I really tried to remember everything Ray's taught me and whatever he might have said in this video. But I can tell you right at about this part right here, Ray is praising me, saying what a wonderful job I'm doing and how great of a human being I am. And also remember to please like, subscribe, and share. Give us those comments. We try to answer any and all comments. So thanks for watching. It's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts. Hope to see you real soon. Thank you.